Thank you for staying. Let's get into our first story now. And the Techiman Traditional Council, together with the District Security Council, has placed a ban on the activities of motorcycles, popularly known as pragia, beyond 10 p.m. The move, according to Nananom, forms part of measures taken by the local authorities to clamp down on criminal activities perpetuated or perpetrated by criminal gangs late in the night within the municipality. And Asabit has more in the following report.
Admittedly, motor tricycles, popularly known as pragia in the Techiman municipality, have helped in the provision of employment to a number of young people and a source of wealth creation, not to mention its ready getaway means of transportation. However, with the statistics available to city authorities on crime and indiscipline, especially in the night, the Techiman Traditional Council, together with the police administration, has placed a ban on the use of these tricycles beyond 10 p.m. The move, according to the Registrar of the Traditional Council, Evans Egan, is to help minimize crime rate across the municipality, especially at night.
In one of our security meetings, it got to light that there has been increase in pragia theft, the motor itself, and secondly, people who patronize pragia, being the passengers, mostly they are being attacked while on board these tricycles. So in order to curb this menace in the Techiman traditional area, Nananim decided that we should restrict their operations. So the Traditional Council, that's the standing committee, is the highest decision body for Techiman Traditional Council, made a decision that the pragia operators are not going to operate beyond 10 p.m.
He noted that the decision is for the safety of the riders and the passengers as a whole and appealed to them to comply.
Our main focus is to protect people who patronize pragia and also protect the owners of this pragia cycle. Because in the end, they are vulnerable at night, that they can, rob the motorcycle and at the same time harm the drivers. So we are pleading with the operators, especially the drivers, that these restrictions are there for their own sake or for their own safety, not to punish them.
This decision, though taken together with the leadership of the Pragia Riders Association, is currently having a toll on their businesses. Chairman of the association, Wal Mohammed, says the situation is not only affecting these riders but passengers as well.
Some are also talking about timing for closing and other things. Yes, it has also been out there that we need to close at 10. Right. We are in talk with the authorities so that we'll look at how to keep that, because currently many of them are complaining about the timing, the closing time and other things, because they are not making their sales, they are not making their this, and other customers who are stranded after 10 o'clock going. They can't get means because taxi is not plowing, and so they cannot get means to their place. Other people travel and come in the night, they want means to go home. They are not getting it because pragia is not working after 10 in Techiman.
Awal Mohammed is, however, calling on the security agencies to work towards improving on their patrols across the municipality and further appealed that the 10 p.m. closing time be extended to 12 a.m. each day.
I'll call on the security agencies to at least step up their security operations. I think it's to be logical that we should close at 12. So by that time, many people would have maybe gone to their houses. By that time, I believe no rider will be able to come and stand before me and tell me that, Chairman, the 10 o'clock is affecting me. I'm not able to make my sales. But I think that it will help us a lot.
Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit, Techiman.
Let's get into our next story now. And take precaution, the tides will be high. That's the advice from the Ghana Meteorological Agency as it predicts high tides along the country's coastlines, reaching 1.82 meters this evening. Now, the agency says the state of the sea is expected to be rough. Head of Central Analysis and Forecasting at the Ghana Meteorological Agency, Felicity Ahafianyo, is warning the impact could be devastating.
Just selected areas, especially the East Coast, those around the Qatar Aflau, Adan, Akashi, these areas. But the West Coast for now is free, except that if you have a rainstorm that is moving, then they have a problem. But so far, the rainstorm before getting to their end is not active. So once we have the high tide, it brings in water onto the seesaw, whereby people's houses get flooded, and then maybe at times get things destroyed. So that is why this time around we are trying our possible best to inform so that they will take a decision that will be positive, so that the impact that we saw the last time will not happen.
Now, meanwhile, Director of Communications at NADMO, George AC, says they are in consultations with relevant authorities to make sure that potential victims are moved to safer ground.
Once we've got the prior notification from the Meteo Department, that is also going to help us to put our acts together and get the people out, so that in case, in spite of all the preparation and awareness or alert that we give them, if there's still some distractions, we will know how to manage that. It may be minimal, not as it happened in November and then last 2 weeks. We are hoping that we'll be able to communicate it as effectively as possible and get people to also pay heed to our call for them to move to safer ground. And that cooperation is always there, because definitely we'll get the district chief executive and the assembly people involved in these communications and then moving the people away. We act to prevent disasters and others. And so once they give us the weather forecast, all we need to do is to take action to avert any possible disaster or danger occurring or affecting the people who live in these areas. So yes, they've given us the warning, and we are taking steps to do everything possible to avert the destruction or devastation on the people, so that people will be well prepared or be in a safe place before it strikes. With the Shama one, we told you that people are willing now to relocate, but it's now up to the authorities to determine that they've concluded every agreement with the landowners for the people to move, and then settlement infrastructure will be put in place. We are yet to get the update on that.
Well, let's talk now about a problematic demolition exercise. And Member of Parliament for Nsawam, Eduajiri, Frank Anodompre, has called for a quick investigation and apprehension of the culprits who stormed Pampaso No. 1 to pull down buildings. This led to some residents fuming and the village blocking the Accra-Kumasi highway in protest. Speaking to JoyNews, the legislator disclosed that this was not the first time such an incident had occurred.
News of this got to me the wee hours of the day, and because it was a more or less act of vandalism, I reported it to the police command, because I had left town last night, and subsequently the commander called me and said that there were policemen deployed to the site to, keep order and instill order. So that is what it says. I don't know what has happened. Subsequently, I'm yet to follow up, and I'm yet to go to site. I hope we'll be able to apprehend the perpetrators and bring them to book. My area is known for such incident, not twice. So I'm hoping that the police will be on guard and be able to apprehend the perpetrators.
And I was just coming to the last point you made. When we spoke to your constituent, they say that this is a phenomenon that has persisted for some time now. As Member of Parliament for the area, I don't know what you're doing together with the MCE to try and address these issues.
No, it's difficult. We are helpless, and more often than not, there had been a combined effort from the military, from Accra. So oftentimes has been an operation from Accra, either the police and the army combining, or from the headquarters of police service coming together, because of the difficulty of tracking down such people and land guards who their stock in trade is to take the law into their hands and to visit violence on innocent souls. So we will need help. Obviously, we need help, and I'm hoping the police command will liaise with their counterparts at the headquarters and ensure that we deal with this matter. We will employ citizens to remain calm. Whilst this matter is being dealt with. But we will, in this circumstance, we will pray for a swift action before the matter gets out of hand.
For those who have been affected immediately, can they look forward to some help?
I don't know the extent of destruction. As I said, it was reported to me. It was my colleague, Member of Parliament, who was traveling to, I think, the Santa region, and then got information when she got to site, and then she called me and I spoke to the people involved. I've seen a few pictures, but that would not be enough for me to conclude the extent of destruction. But for a fact, some properties have been destroyed. So we will have to go there and ascertain the veracity or the extent of it, and then we'll put our heads together and see what we see.
Let's turn our gaze to health now, and civil construction works on the maternity and children's block at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital is 75% complete. Contractors, however, say the total work done on the project is 15% as they race to complete it within schedule. The project was reactivated in 2020 after a JoyNews documentary which highlighted the plight of mothers and babies at the hospital due to a lack of space. Nanaya Ojima visited the project with the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah and filed this report.
Presently, contractors are completing the 6th and final floor of the structure. The project execution is undertaken day and night. Consultant for the project, Emmanuel Fobi Asabre, explains efforts are being made to complete the project on schedule.
We've done about 25% of the suspended floor, and we intend to complete the final roof level. So this is a habitable space, minus the space that has been donated by contractor based on the end user's request. Financial requested for a space in the roof space. And contractor has been generous enough to provide this space at no cost to the project. And this is something we continue to be grateful for contractor. And not just that, there has been a lot of other accommodative things that they have managed to support the project to ensure that we deliver a project that is good enough and one that meets the international standards.
The 750-bed facility under construction replaces the old mother and baby unit, whose construction was abandoned for about 45 years. The new project is being constructed with a €155 million loan facility. It will have modern pediatric, gynecologists and obstetrics units and serve as referral center for 12 of 16 regions in the country. It comes with 10 operating theaters and diagnostic rooms fully equipped. Works at the Aferi Hospital has stalled for some time after attaining a 95% rate of completion. Subcontractors on the project had requested an extra $36 million, which was renegotiated to $19 million, but government has since changed contractors. Engineer Abu Shama is main site manager.
And as you see here that we have started already the work on site. This manpower already and the labor and technicians start working already, and the number will be increased in due course days to be work with full capacity. So this is the final update for the 500-bed project.
Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah, who has been inspecting the site, reveals government has plans to complete all these projects.
The commitment of the government is seen in the fact that at least the fair free payments are smooth. You see, they are not having any payment challenges. Here there was problem, and because the government is concerned, that is why they've tried to resolve the problem, and have now found a finality to this problem. And we having a new contractor to continue with the job. If the government is not concerned, it wouldn't have taken the pain to resolve these problems that we're having here.
For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
Let's stay in the health sector. Now, one of Ghana's most outstanding nurses has received the Lifetime Achievement Award for nurses taking care of children with cancer in Africa. 49-year-old Enyo Esi Bosompra has dedicated nearly 20 years of her life looking after children with cancer at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital right here in Accra. Caring for a condition that costs so much to treat and yet so poorly funded in Ghana, Enyo has found strength under very tough conditions. JoyNews' Justice Baidu went to meet her.
This is one of Kolebu's most important wards, the cancer unit for children.
Let's check Isaac's chemotherapy before his checkup.
It is here that Enyo Asi Bosompua has spent almost 2 decades of her nursing career trying to help children with cancer, almost standing on the borderline between life and death, survive.
I wake up and I come to see the children that I thought yesterday were dying, now happily playing around, chatting, and then their parents happy. That's what gives me motivation.
In here, young children, toddlers to those almost in their teens, many in bandages, some with swollen limbs, and others barely able to breathe.
In Ghana, we are supposed to see like 1,000 children with cancer every year. But our place being the biggest treatment center, we see close to 300. And that is like less than half of the number that we are expected to see. So a lot of children are in the communities dying because of a lot of myths. People do not have any information about childhood cancer. I had an auntie who was a nurse, and she was doing the nursing in a rural community. Sometimes in the middle of the night, they call her and she has to get up. She can stay with the patient throughout 24 hours if there need be. So her commitment to her work is what really encouraged me to want to be like her.
Treating cancer in children could cost as much as 30,000 cedis and over, and yet it is not covered under the National Health Insurance Scheme. Medics like Asi have sometimes had to watch patients die. Her award, she says, means a lot, and she hopes goes to spur her on to do even more.
It means so much for me because it's like I wake up every day, I come to work, I am seeing the children, but nobody really cares about what we have been doing. I'm not alone in this. A lot of nurses, doctors, pharmacists, we are doing so much. But for somebody or an organization as big as SIOP to recognize my work, it gives me so much joy. I'm so proud. No money can actually pay for this kind of honor than me.
And that this also goes to show that for any health worker who truly gives her job her all, there could indeed be a big light at the end of the tunnel. Justice Beidou, JoyNews, Accra.
Now, in our next story, the KNUST branch of the Tertiary Education Students Confederacy, TESCON KNUST of the New Patriotic Party, Collins Nana Beidou, is calling on the party executives to resource the association to deliver its mandate. He believes they are well placed to educate the citizenry on government's agenda. Love News, as Emmanuel Osei, sat through the TESCON KNUST Youth Forum and Freshers Orientation and filed this report.
Speaking at the TESCON KNUST Youth Forum and Freshers Orientation, he noted their incompetence puts the party in danger of exiting the seat in 2024.
Mr. Chairman, if you are unable to explain to Ghanaians the current situation we find ourselves, irrespective of how we are performing in terms of roads, health, education, and all other sectors of the economy, we may not be able to retain power come 2024. TESCON, as an intellectual wing of the party, must be well resourced to give meaning to why it was formed.
Mr. Beidou announced a bursary meant to supplement the various scholarship opportunities for members. He revealed a committee has been set up for the purpose.
In the days to come, TESCON KNUST will be launching a bursary to supplement the various scholarship opportunities implemented by the government for 8 members. TESCON bursary committee has been set up, and in no time they will be issuing a communique on how our members can access this bursary.
President of TAIN KNUST, Theophilus Beche, encouraged his outfit and TESCON to come up with a national policy to ensure sustainable development of the country's youth.
I am pleading that before I leave here, my TESCON president and my TESCON executive would support me so that one day, Ken Westy, Eugene, TESCON Ken Westy, and TESCON Eugene will come together and have a development plan, a youthful policy for this mother Ghana. I believe that when the youth come together, when students from various institutions like Ken Westy, Eugene, from engineering sector, social sciences sector, when we all come together and we bring out development platform, when we bring out policies that is going to help the youth, I am very much confident that any political party that will succeed would have to implement such policy that is going to raise Mother Ghana, that is going to develop Ghana.
Now, former Kumasi Mayor Kojo Bonsu is calling for a compulsory military-focused national service for senior high and university graduates to instill discipline. He believes instilling discipline among the youth will save the country's future. Mr. Bonsu, who is seeking to lead Ghana's largest opposition party, the NDC, in the 2024 election, was speaking at an Easter event held in his honor by hundreds of market queens and traders at the Kumasi Central Market. Love FM's Erastus Asari Donko was at the event and now reports.
Solidarity and support for Kojo Bonsu, according to the market queens, stem from the former mayor's visionary leadership, which they say led to the construction of the ultra-modern Kejitia Market and the Ratri Park in Kumasi. Some also say he takes bold decisions and is an indigene of Kumasi.
She says, if Kojo Bonsu had stayed in power, all of us would have gotten spaces in the new Kejitia Market. So Nana Kojo Bonsu is the only one we know. She says, we saw the status of Asanteman when Kojo Bonsu was mayor. So if Kojo Bonsu wants to ascend the bigger seat, we support and pray for him. We will also accompany him pick up nomination forms when the time comes. We know that with the support of the market women in Kumasi, there will be victory. Today we've lost all our capital. We are trading in muddy situation at the race course with no support. People are trading on pavement and the authorities are afraid to drive them out for political reasons. But during Kojo Bonsu's time, you dare not stay on the pavement. So we miss him. Our roads are dusty. Go to the Eastern region today. In Achim, all roads are asphalted. Come to Kumasi. It's sad.
Let's talk Easter Monday celebrations. And after 2 years of its absence, the Easter edition of the Love FM Family Party in the Park saw scores of families and friends reuniting at the Kumasi Ratray Park. This year's edition was fun-packed with a lot of activities, from live band music to the kids riding on horses, sliding down the trampoline and jumping on the bouncing castles, among others. Now, Love FM's Emmanuel Bright-Kweku was at the Kumasi Ratray Park and filed this report.
The Easter edition of the Love FM Family Party in the park has been incredibly amazing, with lots of fun activities here at the Kumasi Ratray Park. The event started about 9 a.m. here. Right from the adult session, we had adults being treated to some live band music, through to the kids session, we had some trampolines, the bouncy castles, and everything, face painting, and everything that the kids needed for this activity to be fun-packed. So come along with me and let's speak with some families. So I have some friends over here. I'm going to find out from them how they are enjoying this place. So what's your name?
Julia.
And then what's yours?
Gideon.
How are you enjoying this place?
It's very fun.
So far, what have you done so far?
We've eaten, we've played in the trampoline and other stuff.
All right. And then you also, what have you done so far?
I've ridden a horse, but I fell.
Oh, what happened?
When I was climbing the monkey bar, I fell.
We are from Accra. We came here for holidays.
Okay, so what are you expecting from this event?
We want want to have fun.
Okay, and then you also, what are you expecting from this event?
We want to have fun.
Apart from the fun, what else are you expecting? What will you be doing actually? What are you going to do? There is horse riding, there is trampoline, there is bouncing.
Horse riding.
And then what again?
Trampoline.
We are coming here so many times, but today is very special.
Why is today very special?
Because it's Easter.
Because it's Easter, that's why you are here. Yeah. Just tell us the fun you are having here in India. Just that short one.
यहाँ पे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. हमने बहुत enjoy किया. बहुत अच्छा. आप भी आओ.
So how are you enjoying this place?
Very much. I'm enjoying very much.
Okay, so describe this place in just one word.
I love here, and what I like about this place is that they have everything that I need.
Okay, so what are the things you need? What are some of the things?
Face painting,
and
swimming, and the elephant over there.
So this definitely has been a fun-packed activity here at the Kumasi Ratri Park. For JoyNews, my name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku.
And on that fun note, we take a breather. When we return, we serve you the AM News Review. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us for the news review, and I say a very good morning to journalist, media consultant Liz Hayfranasari. Good morning, Liz. I think you may have to unmute.
I'm not on.
Okay, right. I can hear you now.
How was your Easter?
Oh, my Easter. It was an out and about Easter, but it was good. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Hallelujah. So here we are doing what we do best. It's a lovely touch of green and white, if I get it right from the way I see you. What's your secret? What's your secret, Liz? You're always looking fabulous. What's your secret?
I think I have a secret. I think it's just the grace and anointing of God.
The grace and anointing of God, and a dash of style in there. A dash of style. All right, let's get into the papers. We're already starting a bit tardy. The Daily Graphic this morning: towards effective strategy implementation, audit policies since 1960s. Government statistician advocates, and I'm talking about Professor Samuel Kopena Enim, who has proposed a comprehensive stock-taking an audit of all socio-economic policies implemented since the country gained Republican status in 1960 to help guide the effective formulation of new policies and outcomes. He said the stock taken should include the conduct of a thorough cost-benefit analysis to determine how relevant the policies had been and served their purpose. Of course, he delivered a public lecture on conceptualization and national policies, capacity and practice at the Central University in Accra last Wednesday. Your quick take on this bit, Liz. 64 years after independence and so 1960, so 61 years since, assuming Republican status. But indeed, you look at a lot of our policies and they are nothing to write home about. There has not been continuity in terms of, we've enacted this policy, we've learned the lessons. It's always you start something, you end, someone comes to start a new thing, so there's no chain. And you look at the NDPC, for example, the National Development Planning Commission, and the fact that we've not had a plan for, say, 40 years or 30 years or 20 years. It is always, and here we are. Your reaction?
I think it is a good call. I think that it's long overdue. If we have not been taking stock like we ought to, we have very good policies. A lot of them are left on the shelf because implementing them has been a problem over the years. Like you said, each government comes and has its own modus operandi, and therefore probably policies that have been formulated are not used. And you have us going for workshops and seminars and always trying to find ad hoc ways of managing our economy and ensuring that we're doing the right thing where government is concerned. So this is a good call. I think that we need to take stock, and I think that we need to settle down and come out with policies that are implementable. And they should be implemented no matter which government is in power. It is a national policy. We must all agree to it or sign up to it and ensure that the policies are carried out. That is the only way we can develop and develop effectively.
Now, you say that we must all sign up to it and push it. And you couldn't have said it any better. But I look at the political polarization in our country and how everything must be seen through a green, black, red, white lens or a blue, white, red lens. I'm talking about the NDC and the MPP. Sometimes it's interesting, even looking at the sort of reactions people give to the stories or the videos we put out there on social media. You would see that based on people's political colorations, they would either say this, you can predict, or that. So saying that we should all push it, what would it take? Would it take some sort of renewed leadership? Would it take, for example, a revamping of our democratic practice? What would it take? Because as it stands now, everything is seen through political tinted lenses.
It will take commitment on our part. All of us are citizens. I believe that we put the government in place. We need to hold them accountable. And if we do, we surely would make sure that whatever we want as a people is what they give us. Currently, it looks as if we have only two parties in the country. But when it comes to going to the polls, we realize that there are other minority parties that we probably shelve or we probably do not consult when we're doing things. I think that needs to change. We need to bring all people's views on board and make sure that when we bring it on board, we are making sure that whatever they are bringing to the table is what would push our country forward. Ghana is for all of us. I mean, there are quite a number of people who are not colored. They choose to be apolitical. And therefore, are we going to say that because they do not belong to the MPP or the NDC, we will not hear them or will not give them a chance to voice what they think would help push our country forward? We need to open up and we need to create the space where everybody can be heard. It's a pity that Parliament has just the two parties, but it goes beyond Parliament. It goes beyond NDC, MPP. It goes beyond politics. There's so many other things that should come to play if you're looking at the development of Ghana. Social, religious, all of us must be heard.
Let's get into some more stories. On page 16 of the Daily Graphic, Kojo retains spotters' ultimate Easter destination. That story there, of course, you can expect paragliding and a whole lot more. There's also stolen metal drain covers endanger road users. I want us to take a swipe at this list, and I'm sure you've encountered them before. In fact, you get to some bus stops, for example, where these are, and you realize that they've been taken off. And even when you're trying to park your car, it could be a huge mess. If you are plying certain routes and you are not aware that the metal, bits have been taken up, your car falls in there, and it's disaster that follows. Your shocks, your tires, anything could happen. And metal grids used to cover drains in some parts of Accra have been stolen, posing a danger to both motorists and pedestrians. The situation has become even more dangerous with the onset of the rains, as pedestrians walking along the streets in floodwaters can easily fall into the drains. Areas where the cover grids have been removed are the Graphic Road, the Reverend Thomas Clegg Methodist School area at Kaneshie along the Liberia Road, between the Trades Union Congress and the Accra Technical University, Kaneshie Social Welfare, the Kaneshie bus stop, among others. But I'll tell you what, there are so many more areas mentioned here and so many more lists where I have personally, one day, it rained heavily in a certain community. I needed someone to prompt me quickly that I should, just go back from where I was headed. Apparently, there was a bit of a ditch, similar situation there that I didn't know. Only God knows what would have happened if this person hadn't prompted me. Your reaction?
It's very sad. It's very sad the way we treat what we have. I do not know when these things are stolen, but perhaps it could be stolen during the day, it could be stolen at night. And my question is, isn't there a way of reinforcing these things so that people cannot take them up? They take it and use it as, they make all kinds of things out of it. So they're benefiting from the mishap they're causing others. So I believe that those who construct the roads and those who do these things should find a way of making sure that it cannot be stolen, cannot be taken up. Because like you said, it's danger for a lot of people. And with the rains, when it's raining heavily and you're trying to park at the side of the road, you don't know where there's a gutter or where there's no gutter. And if these metal shields were there, you'd be protected from falling into the ditch, like you said. Unfortunately, we are having to live with it. And the taxpayers' money is always being used for these things. We need to be more responsible as citizens and make sure that anybody who is seen doing this should be reported and apprehended. I mean, we can't go on recovering drains year in, year out, and a few people are just taking it and causing havoc for everybody.
Two quick issues I just want to run by you. So we've heard the president in his Easter message talk about the fact that we should be hopeful for better times ahead in terms of the economy. Your quick reaction, your quick take on that. You should have seen some of the responses that people gave as we loaded it on our Facebook portal. But are you optimistic?
Yes and no.
Right. So tell me why yes and why no.
Yes, in the fact that it has started to rain, we probably would hope that the farmers would be able to get better yields. So prices of foodstuffs and things will come down in the near future because of good rains. And we hope that the rains are not causing a lot of havoc. No, in the sense that what we are going through is global. When you look at the fuel situation, and if you look at the fact that Russia is at Ukraine again, what we haven't done as a people is look inward to be able to, ensure that we do not have to depend always on the outside people. We have explored oil, we are getting oil. Unfortunately, TOR is not up and running. So we are still depending on international oil supply, fuel supply. We import what we're using. How about looking inward and making sure that what we have is going to benefit us and benefit us substantially, so that each time there's crisis, global crisis, it doesn't hit us this hard and bring us this low. And so my optimism is a little shaky. I would have wished that TOR was up and running, that we could say that, we'll subsidize fuel prices because we have our own refinery and it's churning out so much oil. And with exploration, we are getting so much. And therefore, from what we are getting, TOR can be supplying us, making us comfortable as a nation. I think on the whole, even in Africa, we have not come together as a unit to make sure that what is in Africa benefits Africans. We are always looking outside of Africa. And that is a problem for us.
Well, aptly said. A few stories from the Daily Guide newspaper very quickly. 6 top criminals grabbed. I'll give you some details of that. There's also ECG meter thieves granted 10K bail. And if you're stealing power, well, you'll get what's coming to you. EOCO arrests bank and telco officials. And a bank official and a staff of a leading telecommunications network, of course, the name has been withheld, who reportedly connived with some 4 suspects who were recently arrested in connection with a SIM swap fraud issue, have been nabbed. The Economic and Organized Crime Office, which made this known, said the suspects were said to have engaged the bank official to provide them with bank account details and phone numbers of their victims to assist them withdraw funds from their accounts, while the telco staff was contacted to clone the phone numbers of the victims for the operation. And this is where some of us get pretty worried when it comes to SIM swap fraud and even SIM box fraud, which is a different aspect of this. And even the entire Momo situation. Sometimes you ask yourself, how do people get to know that you just got a bit of money into your account. A short while ago, then all the messages start coming and, oh, I sent this to your account and all of that. Something is not right, but I guess it will take a lot of mechanisms being put in place, Liz, to address this problem. But what I want you to really take a look at is the bit about the 6 top criminals who have been grabbed. And they are believed to be involved in a series of robberies, including carjacking within the Accra metropolis. And that has become, it's in vogue right now, carjacking. And Central Region, who have been arrested by the police. The Director of the Public Affairs Directorate of the Police Service, Superintendent Alexander Obeng, said the suspects were arrested by the police through a targeted intelligence-led operation between the period of April 15 and April 17, 2022. How have you seen the Ghana Police Service in, let's say, in this first quarter of the year with Dr. Dampari at post?
I think they're doing well, but there's still a lot to be desired. I have a lot of sons in the police. When I say I have a lot of sons in the police, I have a lot of young men who have gone through my hands one way or other through mentorship. Who are in the police service. And I keep saying to them that it is them who will give the police a good name. And it is them who will give the police a good name in the sense that if they are ensuring that there is peer encouragement, if they can encourage each other to do the right things, if they can encourage each other to live by the principles of the police, then the people will start to put their trust in the police. As it is now, the picture of the police is still not good. Even though Dr. Dampari is doing the best he can, you still have bad nuts in the police service that people would not want to open up to the police. But I think that so far they have done pretty well. In some cases, they are giving us good reports. In other cases, the reports that we get are bad, like the Akachi situation, for instance. But on the whole, I would say that they're doing well. There's still a lot of room for improvement. And therefore, I think that, like Dr. Dampari has started, he shouldn't relent. He should make sure that the bad ones in the police service are fished out and dealt with, and ensure that they do proper policing and gain the confidence of the people that they're serving.
Right. Of course, with the Ghana Police Service, from personal experience and the experience of others, I mean, you can go to Akachi and the recent shooting there of some youth. It's been the good, the bad, and the ugly. But we hope we'll see a lot more of the good. A boy 15 hangs to death at Deno. Sad development there in the Viepe area. And God grant peace to his soul, though, I mean, this is a suicide matter. I don't know whether it's, only God knows what happened, but mercy on his soul, we pray. On the back page, VAR decisions shock Ancelotti. I'm talking about Carlo Ancelotti at the helm of affairs at Real Madrid. And there's also the Laxi Boxing League hits top gear. Let's take a quick look at the final newspaper. Dr. Baumia presents 60,000 Ghana cedis to victims of Zakoli attack. You recall that in recent times, the Fulani community was attacked. Very vicious attack, very inhuman attack there. And of course, he has been there to make a donation. Boat capsizes on Volta Lake, kills 7 passengers. Kokobo to hand over 51,537.85 hectares of rehabilitated, diseased and overage cocoa farms. That's according to the Kokobo CEO. But this one, nominations for MPP constituency elections open today. So constituency elections. It's interesting this comes up. Let me just tie it, Liz, into this. The EIU has come out to say that the opposition NDC stands a very good chance of winning election 2024 at the presidential level, but not with former President Mahama. What do you think?
I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think, because if they by intelligence are giving us that report, they've
got it wrong in the past. They've got it right sometimes. They've got it wrong sometimes. So I don't know whether we shouldn't be taking their word with a pinch of salt. I mean, this is
well, maybe yes, maybe no. But I think that it behoves on the NDC to be able to market John Mahama better than they have done in the past. And if they do so, definitely, I think that people's ideas, there's not ideas that I want to use. I'm not getting the word. People's alignment, especially those that are not the floating voters, they choose based on what they believe that the candidates that is coming in can do.
Right.
And therefore, you realize that there's a lot of shift in certain regions because there are a lot of floating voters who do not just want to be colored and are not MPP or NDC. And then again, in the past, we've seen a lot of skirt and blouse voting. And I believe that it's from the manifestos of the parties and from the way they're able to campaign to convince the people that when they come, they will do exactly what they say that they're promising to do.
Right.
I believe that John Mahama has a very good chance. I don't think that in the past elections that he has lost, he did badly. But again, it will take a lot more hard work and a lot more campaigning to get him into the seat.
To wrap it all up, Liz, so the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Asin North by-election will be test of popularity. That's according to an analyst. The story is on page 12. There's also a better someone, the challenges of Ghana's democracy. Asin North by-election will be do or die, NDC's Hannah Bissue says. And this kind of rhetoric, do or die, boot for boot and all of that. And all of those that we've heard in the past, both from the NDC and the MPP. But this one got me interested. Our Greek minister has been lying about Ghana's food production levels. Guess who said that? Suleiman Abrahima, and it's found its way into the Daily Dispatch newspaper. It's something we discussed here yesterday in the course of the news review, and it's the full story is on page 11. Of course, the executive director of the Media Foundation for West Africa saying that the agric minister has been lying through his teeth a lot of the time, especially as we contemplate our fallen production levels of soya bean and maize, which are crucial for the feeding industry, for animals, especially poultry. So that's how we wrap it up. I don't know whether you have a quick take before we go, Alice.
And that there's an increase on imports of certain basic things that we probably should be growing, onions, tomatoes, those little things. And if you see the cost in the market, I used to patronize a lot of Bulgar tomatoes, but the prices have gone so high, and those tomatoes, excuse me, those tomatoes are not only from Bulgar, they come in from Burkina Faso. And you realize that they are very fleshy, and they're very tasty.
Right.
We are not getting them, and when they come down, they're very expensive. And when you look at some of these little things, you know that the agric minister is not being truthful with us. And we need, not only do we need to have him tell us the truth, we need to, as a country, go back to ensuring that we are producing enough for our own consumption. I always keep saying that if during Operation Feed Yourself, Ghana was able to become food sufficient, why are we waiting? Why are we importing? Why are we not going back to what made us food sufficient in those days?
I guess the call would be, let's make Ghana food sufficient again. Well,
and again, like you started, when we have the audit of our policies, we would have all these policies that were implementable and that gave us leverage. And probably if we go back to them, we would be better off.
Thank you so much, Liz, for joining us. Today happens to be your 73rd birthday, John Kwabena Ajay. You are 73 today, John Kwabena Ajay. And from your lovely daughter, Denisia Poma Ajay, who is right here with us at the Multimedia Group. She is wishing you a heartfelt birthday. 73rd birthday. God richly bless you, sir.
And it is understandable. You and I, we collect our taxes, give to the state enterprises, and they just spend the taxes and start calling for more capital injection. Whereas their counterparts in the private sector, from industry to industry, if you take the telecommunications industry, if you take transport industry, you take housing industry, you take health services delivery industry. Across all the industry spectrum, what you see is that private sector enterprises flourishing, generating profits, and paying dividend to the shareholder, who is the investor. But the same thing is not happening in the public sector space. This government shares the vision to turn the narrative around. Let me use the opportunity to educate all of us. When an enterprise, a company, is operating at losses, you assess the source of the losses. It may be market-driven losses. For example, you're operating in a COVID environment. Your Joy FM may say sack some people, or let them take half pay and survive the situation. But when you see loss reported, you won't go and fire the CEO, will you? Because the environment did not permit profitable operations. Similarly, the state enterprise also operates in an environment. So you look at the environmental analysis and make sure that that general problem is sorted, like the enterprise models its operations to survive in that environment first, before you can point an accusing finger of non-performance on the CEO and staff. How do you solve problem of corruption? That is, go after them. Rule of law. So go after them means that I should spend my energy. One maybe corrupt practice or a customer who has defaulted, I should be spending energy going after customers at court. 173 plus state enterprises. Can that be done? No. You say, I've told them, every state enterprise must implement real-time accounting system and real-time operational structures, because now we have the digital infrastructure that will enable one company see its operation from one computer screen, a laptop in front of the manager here, and see what is happening internally. Boko, who, Takrade, do you understand? You use technology, and once you can efficiently manage real-time accounting, for example, will ensure speedy, audited financial statement delivery for decision-making, so far as the boards are concerned, so far as management team is concerned. So real-time accounting solutions, digitalization of their operations should be possible. Imagine the banks that hold in excess 100 branches. If they don't operate on digital platform, you withdraw money, but your account is debited. There's a screen somewhere. Are you getting? This is the direction you should go. It also checks corruption in a more efficient way than looking for a cane and chasing people around. No, we are so negative-minded and crack the whip. I personally believe in enterprise management to mean train the people to do it well, put in place the measures to avoid corruption. Do you understand? And fire the one who has been trained and still subvert the system to be corrupt. Do you understand? That is the level you go to crack the whip. But the person is sitting in an enterprise environment where the environment has caused the manager not to be able to even come out with his best, the environment. And then you are going to punish him for that? Do you understand? So first, you have to provide the environment for the person to be performed. It is at that level that you begin to crack the whip, when you have everything it takes for you to perform, and you are not performing.
Well, that is the man in the hot seat, the sector minister for state-owned enterprises, who joins the conversation this morning. We're talking about state-owned enterprises and making them efficient as they can be. That is what we're doing on the first belt of our big stories. I'm sure a lot of us have been concerned about our state-owned enterprises, and in recent times, a lot of talk about privatizing some of them. Well, we have Joseph Cujo, the Honorable Minister, right here with us. Honorable Cujo, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
And thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's dig right into it. What is the state of our state-owned enterprises? I saw something today in one of the papers talking about, in fact, it's right before me, that we ought to audit our policies since 1960. That's the government statistician. Now, you look at our state-owned enterprises from Nkrumah till now. We had rubber processing factories. We had, I think, in Boso, we had the glass processing entity. We had Komenda starting in that period. Today, where is Komenda and all of that? So it is a matter of interest to all of us because the industrialization that we foresaw at the dawn of independence has not really panned out. So where do we find our state-owned enterprises today?
Thank you. But when you cited Bonsa Thai factory and cited Aboso Glass factory,
yes, today, the Aboso Glass factory.
Today, the importation we do in terms of everything glass, somebody foresaw that the future is going to be glassy, and so we should have a glass factory because we have the raw material base in that area. Today, we don't have it at all because the initiative collapsed. We can list on and on, but the painful part is even when you take Samsung. When Ghana, they have started in Korea, and Ghana had also started it Akasanoma brand. In electronics industry, automobile, we had also started our Adom and Buafo.
At a point, Sanyo was in the system, the Akasanomes,
Even Neoplan buses were being assembled in here, just like we starting with VW, Toyota and the rest.
Nissan and the rest.
Nissan and the rest, yes. So we have not managed well our state-owned enterprises.
We've not managed them well?
No, we've not. Over the period that we've been independent from 65 years.
Because if you look at the number, even per my readings, the number under, let's even look at from Gaggisberg, okay, pre-independence.
Yes.
Because Gaggisberg also did quite a bit of work. I mean, look at Kolebu and others. So let's look at other entities, core entities, from Gaggisberg flowing into Nkrumah and then in the aftermath. And you would see that the performance has been abysmal. Nothing to write home about.
Very abysmal. We can, if you look at divestiture list, companies that have been divested, meaning state starts, collapses, and then gets divested. If you look at the list, and you get to know that the list is in thousands, then you realize how we haven't, the extent to which we haven't managed well our state-owned enterprises. So today, the president carries a different vision to deal with this issue. And the president is doing two things. First, private sector owned, fully owned enterprises under a program called 1D1F. But the state is also participating in some critical sectors of the economy. And to complement what private sector is doing, this initiative to deal with the mismanagement of state-owned enterprises, which has characterized our history, is doing institutional restructuring to provide the necessary framework to solve the problem. Problems get better solved when the environment, I keep saying, the environment and the structures have been put in place. So we have today a minister responsible for public enterprises to focus attention on dealing with this historical problem. And the president's vision.
That's where you come in. That's where you come in.
That's myself as a minister. And then the president's vision also extends to the complete institutional alignment. When you see promulgation of SIGA Act 990 to establish SIGA in August 2019 to be the shareholder of state-owned enterprises, and then put above it a ministerial oversight, and then extend it to parliamentary oversight to come directly under the parliamentary Committee on Employment, Social Welfare, and State Enterprises. That complete oversight, which runs from Parliament through institutional representation, the shareholder, SIGA, and then board of directors, and then management team to staff. That aligned oversight now mimics what happens in the private sector, which enables the private sector perform.
Has that alignment impacted efficiency and effectiveness? And I'll get to the 2020 report because we're counting our losses. Again, very few of our state-owned enterprises are making a profit. A lot of them have become liabilities. They've been albatrosses around our necks year after year, for some of them for decades.
Very good.
They are still on our books. So has this alignment you speak of done anything to better effectiveness and efficiency?
We're solving 65 years old problem. And SIGA Act came in 2019. Yes, so we'll see how the alignment has begun yielding results. But the first evidence I always provide is the fact that you and I are even sitting here talking about the state-owned enterprises in its plurality, as investment portfolio, talking about them in a whole, creating our references from a report, state ownership report. We are doing that today because since the government came in from 2017, consistently every year, we have published state ownership report. In 2017...
but this is not a novelty, is it?
Oh, it is.
A state-owned enterprises report is not a novelty.
A big novelty.
What is novel about it? Before your administration came into power, we had similar reports in the past.
If you show me a copy where there was a number of audited accounts and up to date,
is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
That just because there was no proper, maybe auditing per what you're doing now. But if these entities had not been audited, how could we have known that we were, incurring losses and all of that? Of course, that must have happened.
The novelty is now we consider this issue as an investment portfolio. We do not isolate. If ECG has been doing reporting, did you ever know the state had today, for example, has a coverage of 177 enterprises to look at? You didn't know. We were just pointing tall. Bust. Those that goes into problem, they become news and it dies there. That is what we've been doing over the years. Nobody interrogates board issues, management issues, and governance issues. Nobody. We have had, don't forget, we have had State Enterprises Commission, but look at their, and then Diversity Implementation Committee. So state enterprises will be doing what they are doing.
And I was just about to ask you, what has the State Enterprises Commission been doing?
Let me end on. State enterprises will be doing what it's been doing, administering the performance contract, and then when it collapses, they pass on to Diversity Implementation Committee to divest. So you have this, it even creates a wrong impression that it means you are managing to divest when it collapses.
In other words, there's no plan.
That is the point. That's the point. So the novelty is the alignment that has been brought to bear on dealing with the problem, to provide a solution. So it's a novelty, and we should support it. We should support it, and I'm encouraged by the attention media is focusing on this subject matter. Next, it will be Parliament and open discussions on these matters. You know, there are experts out there, even listening to us, who you will hear them contribute to the way forward, and then you pick snippets of ideas and get the system functional. Else, we will not provide solutions to the problems we have when it comes to the state-owned enterprises. So we should stay on course.
We bled over 5 billion Ghana cedis in 2020 per the report.
Yeah.
That is a gargantuan sum.
2019 report.
Yes. Of course, 2020 report on 2019's affairs.
Exactly.
And if you consider that we find ourselves in a place where we are considering, in fact, we have passed into law an e-levy that is going to give us now, because we started it much later, in terms of the projections. We're going to start sometime maybe early this year or late last year.
Yep.
It didn't pan out. We're starting in May, and we've also reduced it from 1.75 to 1.5. The likes of Dr. John Kumar, Deputy Finance Minister, has told me that we're looking at between 4 and 5 billion Ghana cedis.
That's right.
Around the same region we've lost from our SOEs.
Yeah.
So maybe if our SOEs had been performing, maybe, just maybe, we wouldn't need to be here. How do you contemplate these losses? I mean, yes, over time we've incurred them, but after 5 years of being at post, and not you necessarily,
yes,
we're still at this point where we're losing up to 5 billion from our kitty on the back of non-performing state-owned enterprises.
I'm happy you said this context. Very happy because it makes me get the opportunity to explain corporate losses. When a businessman perceives the company as the corporate, as a businessman, when a businessman is in business, and you have assumed that the businessman will be in business perpetually, then incidents of losses have been part of businesses since man conceived business. I knew of losses when my mom, trading, would buy an item at a cost, and market conditions will cause my mom to sell it below the purchase price. And that did not mean her business is bad or that her wealth has come to an end. The next item she goes to purchase, from this experience, she makes profit. And so to the extent that the loss incurred, lessons learned from it, and next business made to succeed, you keep going. And losses are not also, I should say, loss is a loss. Profit is the opposite of loss. Okay.
Right.
Profit means you are selling above your cost.
At least you are breaking even and able to get some local fuel to manage your affairs.
In business, lot of businesses even start with planned losses that are on plan. That first year we will incur a loss, second year we will narrow the loss, third year, fourth year, fifth year will break even, and thereafter profit. So would you say because the first year will be loss until you reach a break-even point when your cost is equal to your revenue, until profit, you wouldn't go into that business? So we don't think...
Unfortunately, in this instance, where it becomes problematic is we've had over 64 years doing this and over 5 years within this administration doing this. That is where the problem is.
No, that is not the problem.
That's where the problem is.
Let me tell you within the 5 years, what is happening.
Right.
There's a management principle that says you cannot measure, you cannot manage what you cannot measure.
Right. It must be measurable.
Exactly. Okay. Anything you want to manage, it must be measured. So when a government meets a situation where performance of companies are not being measured through audited accounts, that we have audited financial statement of companies, based on which you can make decisions going forward, how do you do it? In 2017, the situation met. Many companies haven't not prepared their accounts. In 2017, can you believe in a state ownership report, there were only 18 enterprises that were reported on. Only 18.
2018.
2018.
Right.
2017, 18. 2017, only 18. And then in 2018, this government causing them to get their financial statements up to date and audited, we got 49 reported on. And then 2019, still pushing in that effort, bringing him on board SIGA, and everyday attention as a shareholder's interest that you give me audited financial statement. 106 were reported on. The 2020 report we are looking at, were reported on 132. So if now, just within 4 years, we have reached the case where state ownership report can cover entities that can provide accounts, audited largely, unaudited and few management accounts, and then you have a report to look at and deal with the problem, then we are making very significant or serious progress in this matter.
You speak,
because,
right.
No, because we are now measuring. Measuring the quantum. But even the losses, let me put the losses reported in 2020 in context. 2019, 5.16 or so billion, in excess of 5 billion Ghana cedis losses, reported by 106. 2020, 132 report 2.6. It tells you that the progress is even not on the absolute figures of 5 and the 2.6, because more companies have been reported on and yet less loss, meaning that the management action...
That is the 2.16 billion.
The 2.6, yeah, billion. What I'm saying is that now it is 132 cumulative.
So I get your point. You're trying to say that now there are even more in the bracket, but the losses are shrinking. But losses all the same. Losses all the same.
As for losses...
So I get your point. But let me ask you this, maybe a fundamental question.
Okay.
When it comes to our state-owned enterprises, and I've heard talk of the fact that, maybe they are not even supposed to earn a profit. These state-owned enterprises, why do we set them up? Are they simply meant to try to break even? Are they supposed to make a profit? Or are they supposed to be incurring losses like we're seeing? What is the strategy?
Okay.
Can you share with us?
Let me share a strategy. Different countries use different strategies. But any solution that does not take into consideration, any business solution that doesn't take into consideration the culture of the people, end up being a bad business solution. In Ghana, we know that our culture in dealing with state assets are very bad. When I was coming, crossing the railway, even railway down there, you can see how people are dealing with state assets. Encroachment, hugely. But that is that level. It is not at the state-owned enterprise level. The same people grow and become managers or caretakers of state assets. They carry the same culture to state assets. Are you getting me? You see street lights on out there damaged by people and they don't care because it's state asset. It's the same cultural environment. So
you're talking about reckless and unprotective culture.
We don't care, yeah. Right. We don't care about when it is state. We care when it is ours as individuals. Are you getting me? So that's the kind of solution you prefer should be that. And then another environment we have is, and I'm talking about these two environments because we are dealing, as a larger community, we are dealing with state-owned enterprise and prefer solutions to the problems we know.
Right.
Another environment we have is that situation where in our market and industries we create, if it is pure water industry, then you see association of pure water sellers. If it is donuts, association of donut sellers. If it is oil, association of oil marketing companies. Every trade or every industry, we create an association, and the association, the tendency is not to deliver competitive prices, goods and services for us. The tendency is to jack up prices to protect themselves. And the same environment, we do not have a strong consumer protection agencies or the private sector driving and advocating for consumer protection. So in a market environment like that, culture and protection, that is profiteering by private sector. Excessive profiteering.
But we're running, you see, we're merging a number of issues, but I just want to put these cards on the table. We're running either a capitalist or pseudo-capitalist regime in our country. That's exactly where we are. Private entities' profitability is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm saying...
the state itself needs to find the balance for these...
Exactly. 177. And in categories of... first, we have SOEs, state-owned enterprises, which are largely commercial and are expected to make profit. Enterprise, as in business, they are in one category. And then the 2020 report reports on 47 of them. And then there is joint venture companies, which are entities where the government has part shareholding in them. And then we have other state entities, the authority, the commissions, which deliver some services like DVLA, SNET, Petroleum Commission. They are all also in another basket. Okay.
Are you saying that they are all in different baskets in terms of
as other state
their profitability?
No, they
related?
I'm segmenting or categorizing. The state-owned enterprise are expected to operate, make profit, write dividend check to government.
Right.
So the government will use for roads.
That's in the first category.
First category.
The 100 and what?
They are 100% owned by government.
No, but you gave a number to the number of entities in there.
47.
So those are the 46 that we have in the 2020
report.
Right.
Okay. Largely they are commercial. I said largely.
Right.
They are commercial.
So what are some of the entities in here? I know ECG is in there.
Yes.
Ghana Water Company Limited,
Exactly.
Kokobot, and others. All of them are in there.
Kokobot would not be in there.
Because per the data we have, they were also in this.
No,
in this
Kokobot are expected to be in other state entities.
Okay.
Yeah. But there are a lot in the state-owned enterprises.
BOST is in there.
Will be there. And then we have the joint venture companies.
Okay.
Which, like I said, like GOIL is a JV.
Okay.
Company, state has interest, private sector, and even less.
I know SNET, for example, invests in
will be, yes, SNET is a
on behalf of Ghanaian pensioners and all that.
Exactly.
Right.
So, but SNET is other state entities in that category. GOIL in joint venture. Okay. And BOST, 100% owned. BOST also shares, I think BOST rather has shares in GOIL.
Okay.
One of the joint venture companies was GREL. If you go to Western Region, Ghana Real Estate, Ghana has some small stake in it. So all these categories I'm saying, the JV's profits expected, dividend check expected for government development agenda. State-owned enterprises, same.
Okay, so
other state entities like DVLA, the efficiency is needed. Financial sustainability is needed. Economy of its operations is needed.
So with these entities, this other group that you're speaking of, other SOEs, are they supposed to, the picture I'm getting is that they are supposed to break even, at least to be able to see to their day-to-day affairs. So internally generated funds to run their affairs so that they are not incurring losses for government to now have to step in and clear any bills.
You have it absolutely right.
All right.
DVLA, for example, you know the rule, the Land Commission. The services, you need efficiency so that they will interface the private sector to help the private sector deliver.
So I like the categorization and the explanation you are giving. So it means that, fine, so the DVLA and others, are there any, which others fall into that basket with the DVLA? Those who are just expected
Take Lands Commission.
Lands Commission.
Take Registrar of Companies. I'm just mentioning
Registrar General.
Those, exactly. Right. Those critical ones that interface the private sector and every day supporting, or what they do, if they do it efficiently, private sector takes. They also do their best for the economy. So I'm saying the other state entities, their interface is with the private sector, and they are not to operate profitably. Are you getting me?
Right.
You won't say operate, but you say operate efficiently, financially sustainable, and be able to deliver the service.
Okay, let's take it basket by basket. Of course, we're on a time leash, so I want us to address.
Very good.
Now, in this other category, the likes of the Lands Commission, DVLA, the Registrar Generals that you just mentioned, how have they fared under your watch? How have they fared in terms of performance, in terms of the efficiency you speak of, effectiveness? How have they fared?
Under my watch, and it won't be my watch under the government watch, the president, the vice president.
Right. I just wanted to narrow it down because we have you at post and here with us.
For me, I'm advocating, but mine is a serious advocacy for the digitalization efforts by the vice president, the president, and the government.
Right.
Okay, the digitalization effort. I am saying that I'm adding real-time accounting systems so that the financial reports, press of a button, you print your financial statement for management decision.
Right.
So that is what we are pushing very hard. But under this government, I have personally experienced DVLA. When I drove in my pickup and I go there to renew my driver's license, they have segmented their customer base. They said they use the word prestige, just like banking do, prestige customers. And the prestige customers, when I walked through the door, I checked my time. It was 1:42 p.m. And when I walked through the door and I was directed to a desk, I paid. With my driver's license in hand, they took it, your card, Ghana card, they took it, and by 1:50, in 8 minutes, they were done. And I compare with earlier processes where you go to DVLA yard and you walk to a certain corner B to go and queue and take a picture of you. You walk to another corner, you go and fill some form. You walk to another corner.
So all of those have been dealt with?
Yes.
Right.
So I'm saying...
So those are the angles when it comes to effectiveness and efficiency.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But so in this context, I've been to the Registrar Generals, I've interacted with their head, for example, and they've spoken about some of these things still on the digitization and digitalization agenda.
Very good.
But moving away from that pot of other SOEs,
very good.
It means that the two other categories are supposed to turn a profit.
That's it.
So out of the pool of about 170 or so, I don't know how many are in the other category.
Other states, okay.
But let's say about 40 of them, more or less.
50.
So let's say 50 of them
reported on,
are in the other category.
Yes.
But then we have the core categories where the 46 are that we are reporting on now.
Yeah.
And then the others in the second category, somewhere in between.
Yeah.
It means that these two categories are supposed to more or less not only break even, but make a profit and give dividend checks, if you like, to the state.
Exactly.
How have those two categories performed?
They've done very well. Under the realignment that we have implemented. Done very well because most of them have reduced their losses. You know, trend-wise, they've been in steep losses, making losses. And for the past 4-5 years, they have been on the trajectory of turnaround, clearly. I can cite BOSS, can cite Ghana Publishing Company Limited. I can cite VRA, I can cite TDC. In fact, I can, but I'm saying when you go and see the trend, the
trend analysis,
it's very exciting. And it's refreshing to note that most of them have reached near break-even to turning into profitable operations.
So it's so exciting, but we're still seeing these losses. I mean, gargantuan losses.
Yes.
I understand. Yes, it's a bigger pool now, and like you said, we're incurring fewer losses, but it's still huge.
No,
and I know that some maybe, like you're saying, just about to break even, but there are some who may be bleeding badly.
No,
within those same categories.
Let me say, the board members, as I know, are very savvy. We've seen.
The board members are very savvy.
Exactly, they are good. Management team, CEOs, as I know, are very hardworking and very proficient in, competent in what they are doing.
Should hard work not be measured by the returns,
the financial performance,
the performance, the output?
Exactly, and that is why I'm saying, you know, performance is not only good, better, best, but sometimes worst, bad. And in this case, the bad performance is the best performance. So when you are in steep losses, and the manager goes in and cuts the losses, the person has done very well, and then further cuts the losses. You commend the person because the next moment turns the entity into profitability. That is what we should take note of.
Right.
So when we assess, we shouldn't just be lost on the negative figure. But what was it? And
so we should look at the past and where we've got to.
Exactly.
And at least know that there are some gains being made.
I always cite this example. When your kid is having a 10th position in class, and you put in all the measures for the kid to study, you want the kids to reach first position in ranking, and he ends up 5th in class. Would you chastise the kid? No, not first. When he comes second, would you chastise him? Won't you be happy that he or she is gunning towards the first position? You won't. So that is how, when it comes to performance, you look at performance assessment. That's how.
So when you look at the performance of an entity like the ECG, making quite some gains in terms of profitability, but at the same time, when you look at its liability pool and even the fact that it is owed by, and that's something I really want us to address, owed by a lot of state-owned enterprises.
Exactly.
The finance ministry itself has owed the ECG in recent times. KIA has owed the ECG. We have public institutions, some of them educational, like my own alma mater, the University of Ghana. Others, it's such a drain.
Tell them to pay you. Your alma mater, tell them to pay you.
Unfortunately, I do not have those powers. But when you look at the fact that even those that are performing, like ECG, also have such yawning debt to deal with, which handicaps them. You speak to them, they talk about the fact that they are not able to be more effective and efficient because of these other situations. Then it means there's a problem.
This is where my point comes in very handy. That you put a manager there, you put a board there, a management team there, and they have an environment where MDAs, ministry, departments, and agencies are not paying their bills and are making every effort to pay the bills. They haven't paid. What you need is the cash. That is one environment. Second, ECG is a price taker when it comes to its revenue line. That if you and I today can speak for them, that ECG, they buy energy, they buy the electricity from the power IPPs and from VRA. ECG buys from there and for distribution because they are in electricity distribution business. But they buy it at a higher price today because some government in the past signed expensive power purchase agreement. But ECG is unable to cover the cost as per purchase price of the electricity, its operational costs, and then put margin on it because the tariff set by PURC for them is making it difficult reporting profitability. Then my take is that if Ghanaians, we want ECG to report profit today, let's all agree that we will pay a little higher tariff. As soon as we agree on that, ECG is in profit the next 3 months. Simple. Are you getting my point? But you look at the...
Is that what ECG needs?
That is why
is that what ECG needs?
But
and I'm asking that question in context because now we know that both the Ghana Water Company Limited and the ECG are actually calling for some of that tariff increments.
And at the same time calling for profit. And then, as public, these state enterprises are ours. So we want profit from them as per your voice, as I hear, and as per my position. I want profit from them. But I know that profit comes from revenue you generate, cost you incur, and then you add the cost and interest on loans you've taken or something, taxes, depreciation of the asset you've used to generate the profit and so on. And then the bottom line, whether positive or negative. And then we are complaining about the bottom line because it is negative. One easy solution is revenue. If ECG were to be like the iron rod dealer out there, he will adjust the price immediately and enter into profitability zone easily.
But for government,
are you getting me?
Enterprise,
are you getting my point?
It's not saying.
He will just adjust the price. Simple. The laptop seller here, when he's hit by FX,
foreign exchange issues, right?
Exactly. at the snap of a finger, he will adjust the price. But ECG will be hit by FX to cause it to incur losses because the transformers cable conductor.
And I would have saved this for later, but
cannot adjust its prices.
How do we fix that?
How do we fix that?
How do we fix it?
Revenue line can fix it.
Because part of the problem is also, you're talking about the FX, part of the problem also has to do with our currency and how it's performing.
That's an environment. But what I'm saying here in FX is that the state enterprises are also hit by the same FX concern. But the private counterpart, which we tout so much as being profitable and we want to benchmark, adjusts the FX. So they don't get hit so much by it. They are able to minimize its effect on them. Are you getting my point?
Mr. Cujo, so I just want to know, what do we do? Are you in support, for example, that we ought to be willing to pay more in terms of utility tariffs, for example? Because the Ghana Water Company Limited has told us over time that, look, things are not going well, and especially with the Galamsey issue and the problems with the cost of dealing with water and all of that. They've even said that if we are not careful, in some years and decades to come, we may have to import water. How do we deal with the reality? Should we as citizens be willing to pay more, even as side by side we try to make them profitable?
I am an advocate for paying the right prices for things. Everything. Right price. Ghana Water treats water at a cost. The risk we all as public incur is that if they do not have the resources, financial resources to buy the chemicals, to treat the water, and they compromise. They are compelled by circumstance to compromise on quality. The effect comes back to us as a public. So if we all have to swallow and pay right prices, just like when a private sector person increases price, we adjust and swallow. We should. So
in a nutshell, we should be more willing to support the SOEs by also paying more.
Right prices. Right prices for SOE services.
Would you say that you say the right prices? Would you say that currently we are not exactly paying the right prices for even less limited our utilities, water and electricity?
I will cite example to drive my point home. Anybody who has been to DVLA in the past until digitalization, you know, people are willing to pay, say, 2,000 to a certain Guru boy. When out of the 2,000 in the past, just about 1,000 would go to the state. People were willing to part with the 2,000. But if the state were to charge the 2,000, there will be, how do I put it, uproar, for example. I'll cite another example. You go to land commission, people registering land, who are registering land, will be willing to pay a certain 2,000 to somebody to register the plot. When you total the receipts, the amount that will go to government, you realize it will say 500. That's an example. It means that people are willing to pay a certain price, but they don't want to pay it to state. And then we come and say, the state is reporting losses. But losses are dealt with from right pricing at the revenue level. Because you can't say, I'm going to cut the salaries of the workers. I'm going to cut the operational costs. It's difficult cutting operations costs. Because when the state, a company, gives a contract to somebody and the contractors are saying, we'll charge this, and you don't have a choice, you pay for them to deliver the service. Are you getting me? So largely, profitable businesses get their problems solved at the pricing level.
Right. Do you feel then, and I'll get to the bit about privatization, which some people have spoken of, but because you touched on salaries, let me also bring in this bit. Of course, we've been told that with the state-owned enterprises and their heads, up to about 30% is going to be cut from their salaries. That is the heads, okay? Has that started, first of all? I need to know. Has that started? Are they already, getting, let's say, 70% of what they would ordinarily earn? And then again, shouldn't we, as some have suggested, shouldn't we be looking at paying, I don't know whether to say the generality of staff but at least the heads, those in administration and the boards of specific SOEs based on their performance.
Yeah.
Because in other jurisdictions, it applies. You know that in the UK, in the US, there's been uproar, even in COVID times, about what some heads were getting. Even private entities like Apple, you get it. So I want your take on these two. First of all, have the cuts, the 30%, are they already going?
I am included. So I will say it is expected, I think, end of this month. You know, the time the policy was announced, it was towards end of month already. So the announcement and implementation will take place. Maybe, I wish I can verify from Ministry of Finance.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But we are looking at something around the end of this month.
Exactly. I think so.
So it may start kicking in together with the e-levy.
I'm saying
May
this, maybe. I'm saying this because my last salary as per my alert didn't see the cut. Are you getting me? So it means, you know, these ones you implement system to get a deduction achieved.
Right.
So I'm waiting for an alert to be able to say it started. But it's something that is being implemented. Okay. Now, the next issue, if you take the salary cut, I think you are also talking about the salary levels, right?
Yes. So if you look at entities, for example, the worst performing entities, state-owned enterprises, can we ensure, I mean, in a bid to sort of incentivize even the leadership or the work there, the better you perform, the more your salary will appreciate. And the worse you perform, the worse your salary will also go. Okay. I mean, can we put in place such measures to bring about some efficiency and effectiveness?
I agree with you. I'm advocate of hard work, good pay. And if you're not working hard, then your pay should reflect it, or you are fired.
Should we, or are we going to implement something like that as far as ISO is?
That depends. You know, when you are dealing with a bucket of entities like that, you would say entity by company, or entity by entity. You want to say, let's implement incentive-based salary structure for the chief executives. That is what you're talking about. Can we, as a country, really live with, let's say, a bonus pay where you say, Ghana Gas, the chief executive, if you're able to achieve this, we give you, that's your base pay.
You have a target.
Exactly. We set a target, this is your base pay. And then when you are able to achieve that, we give you $2 million. Just like his counterpart. That's a certain private companies do. Can we live with it? So it all.
So $2 million in our context may be a bit far-fetched. It may be big, but if maybe someone were looking at,
the counterpart
do it,
is looking
why
at,
are we even doing dollars? Let's do CDs. So maybe if you are able to achieve this target, we'll give you a bonus at the end of the year of about 100,000 CDs or 150,000 CDs. I believe that is something that Ghanaians can, looking at the overall profitability and what that enterprise may be contributing to the state's kitty.
But there's a general discussion, okay? It's a good thing to do, to link. I mean, generally, that is what has been studied, that salary as a motivation should be tied. Salary is not a motivation, but we should tie salaries to performance. I always agree with that, and I do not agree with somebody's pay is high on the just basis of saying this person, the pay is high. I say the pay he takes, we should exact performance that matches the pay. Are you getting me?
Right.
So to the extent that we can, through the institutional restructurings we are doing, the SIGA, the board management, alignment of oversight, and so through this that we're doing, we will begin to interrogate these matters in that context. I will cite an example what we're doing. Maybe before end of next month, you'll see for the first time a ranking of the state enterprises performance. Let me to a specified entity's performance, a ranking of them. And the ranking is based on performance contract they sign.
Okay.
Those that comply and are able to achieve targets set in the performance contract and innovation.
So this is something in the offing?
In the offing, yes.
When are we looking to, from the next time we have an evaluation of the state-owned enterprises?
No. A tentative date has been set for 27th May to publish.
27th May, coming
yes,
27th May.
Yes,
right.
Work has advanced. We want to turn it into an award scheme where the first is awarded.
Right. So let's quickly look at the.
But I'm saying that frame, when you do, then you will be able to attach incentive to.
We'll see how that pans out. But let's talk about the politicization of the boards of these state-owned enterprises. That also happens to be a bit problematic. People say that it's always political party. If blue wins, blue fills the boards with. And of course, we know how it is done. In this country, when one political party wins, those on boards know that presence on the board, Yamutu, it is game over. You will soon be replaced, and it's a whole new setup. So we don't have the benefit of institutional memory, people who have been there, done that, and who have that capacity. How do you hope to deal with this? Because it's still thriving. Must it be politics as usual?
I'm happy you put the whole issue in the right context. It's my worry, personal worry, that these CEOs, as I see them driving performance, okay, and doing turnaround of their entities into profitability, will they be kept to do their work as they perform? I do not know. Are you getting me? But I think we should reach that as a people, we should reach that level where when somebody performs, the person is kept in position. Are you getting me?
Right.
When somebody doesn't perform, the person is removed from position. So that performance determines who occupies what position. I think as a conversation, and from the viewpoint of the current president, that is what he is looking at, and all the institutional alignment he's doing. And what also gives me comfort is the fact that the appointees from board level to management, that is the CEOs, you look at their profile, they are very driven people, okay, and are working so hard to turn around these institutions. When they turn these institutions into profitability, what happens next?
Right.
Will they be cheered and kept in position? I don't know.
So we're going back to the point about incentivization. That must be done. Right.
But the political twist is what, would they be maintained? That is the question. But I think largely from what we've observed, people that are doing well are just there. That is something we should...
Can you name one or two enterprises where people who have done well from maybe a previous regime are still at post?
I can name VRA, I can name BOST from energy. You know, I was a deputy minister of energy.
Right.
And
but BOST has a new MD, and it's interesting you bring in BOST. So I want you to address two quick things.
But there are a lot. TDC, I can talk about a lot of them.
Right.
State House.
In about 3 minutes, we have to end this conversation. Okay. But I want to quick look at our oil sector entities, BOST, TOR, the GNPC, for example. Yeah. With the GNPC, I've forgotten whom, but mention was made in recent times that until the GNPC, for example, is able to take care of its debts, it shouldn't be looking at, funding some of the things that it's been doing. I mean, we've seen the GNPC on the Black Stars, government taking loans and all of that. Let's focus on the GNPC. When we do these to our state-owned enterprises, and then they are unable to even, see to their day-to-day running, not to talk of making a cost, are we not, as a state, the same ones? And in this instance, it is not Benjamin Akako sitting here as an individual. It is the state dipping its hands into the coffers of these entities, and then these entities not being able to meet their financial obligations. How do we resolve that?
The situation must be seen in the larger context. state owns this enterprise. State needs some situation, some money or something. State needs it because it has to undertake a certain obligation to the public. Options, tax, turn to market to borrow. Are you getting my point?
Or take it from an entity like the GNPC, but also end up crippling it.
No, but the state owns it. The state owns it. So my understanding of such situations is the fact that if myself, Joseph Cujo, I have a company and I need money, and the options open to me are to borrow from the market and I'm not getting loan, I will go to my company and take money. Every private person does it. It's a savvy thing. It is also even the motivation to be entrepreneurial. Are you getting me?
Right.
So unless the laws do not permit, like if I say,
so it is okay.
It should be done within the context of the law.
Okay.
If the law so permits, state owns an asset.
Even when we see the likes of the GNPC suffering the way they do,
no,
you feel it's okay?
What I'm saying is that two things I will say. If it is done within the law, and it is also done within the context of not collapsing the state entity, why not?
Right.
That is the context I will look at it.
All right, so just to wrap the conversation in maybe some 30 seconds, we've heard the likes of Kwame Pianim say that some of these entities that are not performing should be privatized. In some 30 seconds, what's your quick take on that as we wrap this conversation?
I share his thoughts on privatize, but not on those that are not doing well. Listen to this. It's a street wisdom that the one that is selling an asset shouldn't sell the asset when it is bad. Even you, when you are selling your car and the fenders is broken, what will you do? You know that when you sell it with the fenders broken, it will give you a very bad price. But when you fix the fenders and sell, it will give you significantly good price. Are you getting my point?
Right.
The one who is rearing even goat knows that if I want to go and sell, I have to fatten it a bit. You don't sell your asset. If you are selling a house, you tell me if it is dilapidated, you will go and sell in that state. So the same thing, selling a company, when it is terribly bad, you sell, you don't get value. Okay? So his statement, privatize, should be those that are performing and are not playing critical role in the economy.
Okay.
To create some checks and balances in there, privatize them. And that is why previous government, Kufuor government, GCB Bank is on the market, GOIL is on the market, SIC on the market. They were, unless you can go to the market, you can be privatized for value when you are doing well. MTN came to market at a time when profitability and prospect were very high, and then you extract value. That is the context we sell assets.
Well, we'll have to look at this moving forward. The suggestions have been made. But thank you so much for joining the conversation, Mr. Cujo. And we wish you the very best at Post.
And thank you for your interest in the state enterprises.
Right.
Let's sustain the conversation.
Right. And that has been our conversation on state-owned enterprises right here with Joseph Cujo, the Minister for Public Enterprises. Now, coming up next, we're going to be talking about the broken chain. And we know that soya bean and maize is in short supply across the country. These are key components for poultry feed. Now, how has this affected those in that sector, those in that industry? We'll be telling you more about that as we host some guests on this topic right after the break.
Our government in 2017 introduced its flagship agriculture industrialization program, Planting for Food and Jobs, meant to enhance production.
With good farming policies and incentives, Ghana would end the disgraceful spectacle of importing foodstuffs from neighboring countries. to the millions of farmers in farming communities and villages in all parts of Ghana, I'm happy to inform you that planting for food and jobs is the basis of the answer to this twin problem with which you have been confronted in recent years.
Soya bean was one of them. Government, through the Planting for Food and Jobs, has increased the production levels of soya bean in the growing areas, but the impact on the local market cannot be seen. Here at the Abuabu market in Tamale, we meet Alhaji Abdul Karim, a soya bean aggregator and supplier for 15 years. Before now, he supplied 400 bags of soya bean every week to his buyers. But in the past few months, he struggles to get that. He had received only 2 bags from traders, though it was a market day today.
By 2 months in here, me load 100 kilos bags, no buy 400 bags for full calculator. And then by 2 months, me load more. Yesterday is Bushago market. Bushago Juano, na me 200 bags. A cargo soon between 100 and that's 150. And the same week, you know, but my loading. But then Bushago market, no 2 bags money here. Then by the betman you had but do 400 bucks. Let me do my company. But any forwardness no to me compare.
So we moved to Yendi to meet other aggregators of the commodity. This area of the market is where shops of soya bean traders and suppliers are located. At this time of the day, the market should be busy. But today, these shops are locked. The traders can't afford to play some games because market is slow. Meet Mohammed Seidu. He has been dealing in soya bean for close to 10 years now. He opens his almost empty shop with only 10 bags of 100 kilos of soya bean that can hold 300 bags. Whilst in the market, we witnessed one of Seidu's suppliers bring him just a bowl of soya bean, which seems to have become the trend.
This woman used to sell at least 10 bags for us every week. Now she came with only 2 bowls. That is what she got in the market.
He says the foreigners, especially of Indians, have taken over the market.
At first, you could have a week, you could have loaded at least more than 500 bags or 1,000 bags a week. But now to get even 300 to supply to your people is difficult.
Seidu is worried the situation is impacting negatively on their businesses.
So, you know, this is April. Something that we supposed to get shortage of service, something like September going. So that maybe October the new one will start coming. So look at this thing. So from April, May, June, July, August, I think there will not be soybeans.
So we can process 100 tons of soya beans a day, and the refinery can do 20 tons a day. So we process 100 tons and we refine 20 tons of oil a day if we have the raw material. Since we started, for lack of raw material, the highest we've been able to do is 70 tons a day. It's not that the efficiency is not good or the capacity we cannot meet, but just that we don't have enough raw materials. Very unfortunately, our market has been open to foreigners to do anything that they want. They go to the farm gate to buy directly from the farmers. So we are actually short of supply to even run the operations. The season begins in October, and we are in March, and there's no soya bean in the system. So October again. So you can imagine how the situation is affecting us. Coupled with the fact that there's nowhere people could go and then go into the Ghanaian can't go into India and go to the farms and start buying. You have to deal with the institutions. Ghana, we have commodity exchange. Why are they not buying from the commodity exchange, like regulated market? Or maybe buy from the aggregators in the markets. But they go to the farm gate directly to buy from the farms. And if you go to the market today and the price is 100 Ghana cedis, you offer 100 Ghana cedis, the next day you go, these guys are giving them 120. So they keep pushing the price up. It's greatly affecting our business. Some of our colleagues have shut down already. And looking at the situation, I may shut down next week. We don't have anything to work with.
And currently, as I'm speaking to you, about 80% to 90% of all the processors have shut down. All of them. Because I know Ghana Nut is not working currently. It's not producing or processing soya. Vesta Oil, which I believe is not also processing. Dragon, the same. We have Quality Farm, which is also not processing, just because there's no raw material. If you tell them the price and also sit down and do their computations, there's no way they can also make a margin. So the best is to shut down.
And so that was the documentary latest put together by Prince Appiah. Let's get on to our guests and find out what exactly is happening down there. Victor Opong-Asamoah is chairman of the poultry farmers. He joins the conversation. Mr. Opong-Asamoah, a very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining the conversation. All right. We also have Thomas Bello, President, Ghana Soya Bean Association, joining the conversation. And we have Bagbara Tanko, who is PRO for the Agric Ministry. Let's just get into that. Do we have Mr. Tanko here with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So let me just start the conversation with you in terms of situating the problem we have. What is it? Does it have to do with a production problem when it comes to soya bean and maize? Because we've been hearing certain figures emanating from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Where lies the problem? Is it in the production area, or is it in the regularization or the regulation, like some are saying? That with soya bean, for example, they are saying that it is there, but the foreigners have taken over the market, therefore cramping out the local buyers. Where lies the problem?
Thank you for this opportunity. I think the soybean issue is a mix of factors. And as a result, we are all facing this issue. Thankfully, most of your guests are members of a regulation implementation committee that was set up by the Ministry of Food and Agri and the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Now, with production, Ghana is doing all it can to step up production. Let's take from 2016. We used to record about 1.7 metric tons per hectare of soya. And as we speak, we have increased production to 3.0 metric ton per hectare. Of course, this is an improvement over the years. We also have to recall that back then, yes, about 15% of our farmers use improved seeds. As we speak, the situation has improved. And we have high-yielding varieties that the farmers use. And per acre, they are able to increase the yield to the 3.0 metric tons production. Now, the issue has to do with who are the players in this sector. The value chain in terms of soya production, the farmers, the processors, the aggregators, and all that value chain actors. The biggest challenge is we have foreigners in our country, particularly the Indians, who go to the farm gates, offer the so-called juicy prices, and therefore our farmers give this product to them at the expense of our local value chain actors. Now they take these products, find a way of sending it out of the country. And that is why Parliament had to pass the Regulation 2020, LI 2432. And this committee was constituted basically to look at how we can either stop or minimize the export of these soya products. Because we are aware it is a basic ingredient for feed formulation. Close to 15 to 20% of soya is used in formulating the poultry feed. And therefore, if we are trying to increase production to meet our local demands, why should we allow this product, this scarce product, to be taken out of the country? Thankfully, the committee has gone into several meetings and they are working behind the scenes to ensure that we will no longer accept that attitude of coming in, picking whatever we have, and sending it out of the country.
Of course, that is owing to our own lapses. I know even as of last year, the Norwegian Development Agency was trying to intervene because the production of soya or the demand for soya was far outstripping supply. And yet we have a situation where foreigners, Indians and others, and I'm not singling them out, I'm just talking about those who, have access. They go right to the farms, as per the documentary that we've just aired, and purchase these products. This can't be done in other jurisdictions. Why are we allowing this to happen? In the meantime, our poultry industry that we are trying to revive is suffering a battering. Why is this happening?
Certainly, and that became necessary for the formation of that committee between Minister of Trade and Minister of Food and Agriculture. But we found out that, in fact, in last year, what we went through as an industry, especially the livestock and poultry industry, was so worrying. It nearly collapsed the sector. And this should not be allowed to continue to happen because the taxpayers' money is used to subsidize the seed. It's used to subsidize fertilizers for production, just because we want to increase production to meet our local demands. But we have a situation where patriotism is thrown to the wind, and we want to just fill our own pockets. The farmer, yes, we want to make money, and therefore whoever comes. In fact, your host will tell you that when they even go to the farm gates, the farmers prefer these foreigners because they think they offer bigger prices. But little do they know that they are doing a collective bad to the nation.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you, Tanko, on how we can stem the tide of this, because I believe regulation can be the solution. But let me go to Thomas Bello, who happens to be the president of the Ghana Soybean Association. What has been the real impact, real tangible impact of this shortage and the fact that you are being, pushed out of the market by foreigners? Do we have Thomas Bello with us? Hello, Mr. Bello. All right, I'll get back to Bello. Mr. Opong, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so Opong Asamoah is chairman of the Poultry Farmers Association. For you, like has been mentioned, soya bean constitutes a good percentage of the feed that you give poultry. What has been the impact? How accessible is soya bean, for example, and what has been the impact of its shortage as far as your activities are concerned?
Thank you very much. Let me correct. The name is Opong J and not Opong Asamoah.
Thank you for the correction, sir.
Right. Thank you very much. I would say that poultry is all about the feed, and when we talk of feed, it's all about maize, soya, and wheat bran and other small items that we add. But soya is very fundamental when you are preparing feed, because that is the source of protein for the bird. We use about 50 to 25% of soya in preparing feed. So in the event that we are not getting soya, it makes it very difficult for you to prepare any feed. It means that when there is no soya, there is no poultry, because you cannot do poultry without soya. So it's very basic that soya is important in the growth of poultry industry in the country. So when soya is running out of the system, it means the poultry is collapsing. Now, as we speak now, most farms are collapsed, and people have also reduced their stock. There's a farmer around Doma who was having 300,000 birds. Now, he has 50 birds, and even that feeding them is a problem. So we need to understand the poultry industry as to what goes in for its developmental growth. And if we don't give much attention to it, it will mean that in the next couple of months, we will not have a single poultry farmer in the country.
Are you suggesting that on the back of the inaccessibility of soya bean, in other words, your farms, your industry is collapsing, and like you're saying, in the next few months we could see your poultry farms going out of existence, so to speak? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's it's not only the soya, it's the soya. Now that we are focusing on the soya, I think I have to limit myself, because if there's no soya, you cannot do feed for the bird. And if there's no feed, there's no poultry. So we need to address this issue critically and make sure that we revive the poultry industry, because it's collapsing all over. What you see that the empty, no birds in the pen, and this is dangerous and very serious for the country.
Okay, before I move on to Thomas Bello, I just want to find out from you again, Mr. Opoegye. Now, I heard initially, I was speaking to Bagbara Tanko, PRO for the Agric Ministry, right? And I put the question to him that we can regulate how foreigners, have access to soya farms so that there is some sort of balance. In other jurisdictions, there are control mechanisms. What would you like to see in that regard?
Well, what I would like to see is that we need to have data for the poultry industry and know the volume that we will need per annum. And the surplus, we can allow the foreigners to take them. Because, as we rightly say, money for food and jobs is being subsidized by the government. And I tell you, 975 million Ghana cedis have already gone into the budget for food and jobs. And how do we subsidize for foreigners? It's the local people who need to benefit from this budget for food and jobs. So we are regulating. We ensure that we have enough for the industry before we allow foreigners to take the surplus. Otherwise, we will say that we are regulating, but in the end, they still buy the soya, and we will not get some to feed our base.
Hold for me, Mr. Opoegye. Let me get to Thomas Bello. Thomas, can you hear me now? Mr. Bello, can you hear me now?
Hello?
Is that Mr. Bello? Thomas Bello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm struggling to hear you, but at least I can get something from you. So I'd like to find out from you, as president of the Ghana Soya Bean Association, what exactly is the constraint you are facing now? Because I've been,
no, I can hear you. Hello.
Mr. Bello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear now.
Just hold for me and get the question. Since, for some years now, we've had problems with our soya production. I was just talking about last year and a Norwegian initiative because soya demand is outstripping supply. How is it affecting you in the association? And what do you want to see done?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead. Mr. Bello, can you hear me? If you got the question, just go ahead.
I can hear. I'm only hearing the on the television. Hello?
I can hear you, Mr. Bello. Just go ahead. If you got the question, just go ahead with the response. All right. Let me come back to you, Bagbara Tanko. You are PRO for the Agric Ministry. So on the back of these that have been shared, I will go back to the question about regulation. Because no foreigner can go to just any country and do whatever you please. When you go to other sectors, I mean, even if you go into Nigeria, you cannot just go there and acquire land and start farming. And of course, that is not what they're doing. But in this instance, you cannot just go to the gatekeepers and then, do whatever you feel. There is some, process that you must follow. In this instance, we have foreigners coming through and pushing out our own people. And like has been mentioned, take stock of the fact that we're hearing from these bird rearers, the poultry farmers, and they are saying that they are being crowded out, and very soon there will not be poultry farms in Ghana. How do you react to that?
Well, that is very worrying. And like I said, thankfully, your guests they are members of this committee that came into force since the 22nd of December, 2020. And therefore, the nation is looking up to that committee to be able to regulate the movement of soya bean. They are supposed to put in place measures that will ensure that we increase production and also advise us and when we have more than enough and we can export.
Right. So you're speaking of this committee. I just want to find out from the Agric Ministry, for example, what measures have you contemplated that could help resolve the situation? From because that is your sector. What have you been contemplating as a ministry?
Yeah. So the duty of the ministry is actually to increase production, and that has been the journey we've embarked on since 2017 till date through the Planting for Food and Jobs, and that's why soya was considered. Now, the issue has to do with using improved seed and be able to get as many farmers to cultivate soya. The process of cultivating soya is so tedious and requires mechanization. As a result, the ministry, through the Engineering Services Directorate, has procured handheld machines, threshers, reapers, and all that. So that, because when you produce, at the end of the day, if you are not able to harvest it properly, it will all shatter, and then all your efforts will amount to nothing. So that is an aspect the ministry is looking at, mechanization. Some machines have been brought in through an Indian facility. We are also looking at improving extension service delivery. Gone are the days that we used to have just one extension officer is to 1,900 farmers. The gap has been closed. We now have one extension officer to the rate of about 600. The standard rate should have been 1:500 farmers. So with all this being put in place, we are certain that we are going to increase production.
All right. Very quick one. Mr. Tanko, we don't have the time, unfortunately. Just a very quick one. Yesterday, I was interacting with Suleiman Abrahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. He mentions that you've been churning out a lot of false information, in fact, misinformation, when it comes to our production levels, soya bean, maize, among others. Why is that?
Yes, I have taken a bite of what he said, and I strongly disagree with what he said, because the Honorable Minister will not just speak in a vacuum. He has a statistics and research directorate.
Those statistics are not corroborated by the facts from the World Bank, from our own Ghana Statistical Service in the past. So which statistics are you pointing to?
Well, I'm indicating that the minister speaks from the statistics from the ministry. He doesn't speak in a vacuum. Before he says anything, he makes sure the figures given to him is from the right source, and that is what he speaks to. For that issue, we are here to look at it and maybe contact him, get details of what he says we are not consistent with the figures, and maybe respond to it appropriately.
All right.
So I should say the minister has always spoken with figures, and they are from the right source.
Hopefully we'll get a response from the Agric Ministry. Mr. Bello, if you can hear me now, what is the core challenge that you are facing in respect of soya bean production? How is it impacting your association? What do you want to see as a remedial measure? Very quickly, sir. It appears we're simply not going to be able to interact with Mr. Bello. But I'd like to say a very big thank you to Victor Opong Ajay, Chairman, Poultry Farmers Association. Mr. Opong Ajay, a very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us. We also have PRO of the Agric Ministry, Mr. Bagbara Tanko, who joined us. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Okay. So right before we wrap, let me just say one more time, a very happy birthday to John Kwabena Ajay. You turned 73 today. It's from your daughter, Danisia Poma Ajay, who is here with us. Happy 73rd birthday to you. But before we go, you know, water is life. Water regulates your body temperature and keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water, treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for every occasion, 330 ml and 500 ml to fit your pockets and bags, 50 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. We have also introduced our special 19-liter jars for offices and homes. Now, you just need to stay awake with Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. So come on, grab a bottle of Awake Water and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. Remember, every bottle you purchase, for everyone, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It is produced by Casa Preco. For bulk purchases, call 0262 351 251. 0262 351 251. Did you know that the income of a young entrepreneur from some selected businesses is exempt from tax for 5 years? Any young entrepreneur engaged in manufacturing, information and communications technology, agro-processing, energy production, waste processing, tourism and the creative arts, horticulture and medicinal plants does not need to pay any income tax on these activities for their first 5 years of operation. A young entrepreneur engaged in business that enjoys an initial 5-year concession benefits from the following applicable tax rates. Accra and Tema 15%, other regional capitals outside the 3 northern regions 12.5%, outside the other regional capitals 10%, and for the 3 northern regions 5%. For further clarity and information, contact your nearest GRA office. Ghana Revenue Authority, integrity, fairness, and service. And on that note, we draw the curtains on the AM show for this beautiful Tuesday morning. My name is Benjamin Akapo. Look forward to our bulletins at 10 and at noon. And let's connect same time tomorrow.